We return to Act 1, Scene 3 at line 298. Just as Othello and Desdemona have exited to spend what remaining hours they have left together before Othello leaves for Cyprus. Note how Shakespeare bookends the first act by having Iago and Roderigo alone again on stage, as they were at the beginning of the play. Now that the ducal court has gone, the formal dignity of the proceedings, where discussions of matters of love and war are largely delivered in blank verse, is replaced with the colloquial language and prose of the cynical Iago, who has now seamlessly switched from his role of honest Iago and the lovelorn Roderigo, as they reflect on how everything has played out thus far and plot their next moves. Roderigo clearly has something on his mind as he simply says, "Iago." Note how Iago solicitously responds by addressing Roderigo as noble heart, suggesting a fondness for him that he almost certainly does not feel. Roderigo is distraught at the turn of events. Not only has he lost Desdemona to Othello, but she is also about to go off for goodness knows how long to the other end of the Mediterranean. Roderigo threatens to incontinently or immediately drown myself. Iago meets this melodramatic assertion with barely concealed contempt, as he calls Roderigo simple-minded. "If thou dost, I shall never love thee after. Why, thou silly gentleman?" Roderigo rebuffs Iago's insult by countering that what is simple-minded is living, when to live is torment. This is all too much for Iago, whose contempt for what he sees as Roderigo's lack of self-worth now explodes. "Oh, villainous," he exclaims. In his 28 years alive, and ever since he's been able to tell the difference betwixt a benefit and an injury, I have never found a man that knew how to love himself. He even goes as far as to say that, ere I would say I would drown myself for the love of a guinea hen, I would change my humanity with a baboon. In other words, he would willingly change into a baboon or monkey before he would say that he would drown himself over a guinea hen or a woman. Note how once more he revels in vulgar language. To the modern ear, a baboon is just that, a monkey, and a guinea hen is merely a female game bird. To the contemporary audience, however, these would have had altogether different meanings and connotations. Baboons were widely considered to be evil and lustful animals, and the word guinea hen was slang for a whore. Not only does Iago seem to see human relations such as love exclusively through the baser lens of sex, but his words also reveal that he is inherently misogynistic, as he contemptuously implies that all women, even the gentlewoman Desdemona, are merely objects of men's lust to be coldly used and then discarded. Roderigo is suitably chastised by Iago's harsh words, but he is at his wit's end, admitting his shame for his infatuation, but declaring that he is completely powerless to do anything to change it. "I confess it is my shame to be so fond, but it is not in my virtue to amend it." Iago, however, is not finished with Roderigo yet. Don't forget that he needs him in a fit state to do his dirty work for him and to continue to support him financially. He is contemptuous of Roderigo's self-pity and weakness, qualities which he despises. "Virtue? A fig! 'Tis in ourselves that we are thus or thus." The derogatory exclamation, "a fig," was another way of saying rubbish, and was used to contradict something that had just been said. It was usually accompanied by an obscene gesture, where the thumb was forcefully poked through the first and second fingers. He now goes on to use a gardening metaphor to explain that we have the power within ourselves to control our emotions. Our bodies are our gardens, to the which our wills are gardeners. In other words, it is up to us and nobody else what we sow, what we weed, what we work hard to encourage to grow, or what we leave to remain barren. He says that if we didn't have one scale of reason or logical thinking to counterbalance another of sensuality or sexual lust, the blood and baseness of our natures would conduct us to most preposterous conclusions. But we have reason to cool our raging motions, our carnal stings, our unbitted lusts, whereof I take this that you call love to be a sect or scion. In other words, reason is needed to rein in our raging sexual desires and urges of the flesh. Otherwise, the inevitable preposterous conclusion is that we convince ourselves that we are in love. His use of the word sect or scion from the terminology of horticulture, meaning cutting or graft, to describe the romantic love that Roderigo professes to feel for Desdemona, suggests that he sees him as a very poor gardener indeed. The disdainful adjective preposterous, meaning utterly absurd and ridiculous, and the way he says that you call love, with the emphasis on the you, is an indication that he rejects the notion of romantic love entirely. The only notion of love that he will entertain is love for himself. Roderigo, however, remains to be convinced. It cannot be. So Iago now resorts to questioning his manhood, implying that he is merely a weak animal. Come, be a man. Drown thyself. Drown cats and blind puppies. He softens this, however, by professing that he is his sworn friend and that he only has his best interests at heart. I have professed me thy friend, and I confess me knit to thy deserving with cables of perdurable or everlasting toughness. I could never better stead thee, or help you, than now. He persuades him that Othello and Desdemona's relationship will be short-lived, observing that it was a violent commencement, and thou shalt see an answerable sequestration, i.e., because their affair began violently, their separation shall be the same. He once more exploits the trope of people with African heritage being sexually impetuous and fickle. These Moors are changeable in their wills, arguing that he will soon have had his fill of her. She will also have had enough of being with an older man. Currently blinded by lust, she will want to get rid of him for a younger man once she has been sexually satisfied by him. She must change for youth. When she is sated with his body, she will find the error of her choice. He tells Roderigo that if he is intent on damning himself, suicide was considered a mortal sin, there are far better ways to go about it. He promises him that if sanctimony and a frail vow betwixt an erring barbarian and a super-subtle Venetian be not too hard for my wits and all the tribe of hell, thou shalt enjoy her. In other words, if Othello's pretense of moral superiority and the fragile marriage vow between a sinful non-Christian and an over-sophisticated and cunning Venetian socialite are not beyond his plotting, Roderigo shall be able to have her sexually. It is better to be hanged while achieving pleasure than to be drowned and go without her. Note how Iago begins this section of his speech by urging the rich and gullible Roderigo to put money in thy purse, or to liquidate his assets by selling his land to get the necessary cash so that he may go to Cyprus too. Not only this, but he repeatedly punctuates the rest of his dialogue in this scene with this emphatic encouragement in various forms. Put money in thy purse appears a further 4 times, as well as fill thy purse with money, make money, and provide thy money, as he skilfully leads Roderigo by the nose, like a bull with a ring through his nostrils, to not only believe that he still has a chance with Desdemona, but also that bankrolling him is the best way to achieve it. Iago has made a compelling case and Roderigo is wavering. He just needs some final reassurance that Iago will remain fast or true to his hopes if he goes along with the plan. Iago gives him this reassurance: thou art sure of me, because they are both emotionally invested in the plan and their goals align. I hate the Moor. My cause is hearted. Thine hath no less reason. Let us be conjunctive in our revenge against him. He says if he, Roderigo, can cuckold Othello, or turn him into a man with an unfaithful wife, by getting Desdemona into bed, then thou dost thyself a pleasure, me a sport. They make plans to meet the next day, and Iago sends him off, once more reminding him to get his cash together. Once left alone, Iago, in the act's closing soliloquy, reverts to the intimacy of blank verse to give vent to his true feelings about Roderigo. He is gleefully disdainful of his gullibility and his successful manipulation of him. Thus do I ever make my fool my purse. The only reason he is wasting his time with such a snipe or worthless idiot such as Roderigo is for my sport and profit. He emphasises his visceral hatred for Othello, adding that he has heard a rumour that he has slept with his own wife Bianca, and it is thought abroad that twixt my sheets he's done my office. He admits that he has no idea if this is true or not, but that it serves his purposes to regard the suspicion as fact. He will revisit this idea in Act 2, Scene 1, as justification for his plot against Othello, as he vows to get retribution in the form of a wife for a wife. He proceeds to ponder on how best to carry out the next part of his plan. The fact that Othello holds me well, or holds him in high esteem, means that his plan will work all the better on him, as he won't suspect a thing. He resolves that, in order to achieve his double purpose of wreaking his revenge on Othello and getting Cassio's position as well, he will, after some time, abuse Othello's ear that he is too familiar with his wife. This will be believable, because he is both charming and good-looking, which are two attributes that tempt women to be unfaithful. He hath a person and a smooth disposed to be suspected, framed to make women false. Add to this, Othello is honest and trusting, and judges others to be the same if they appear so on the surface, so it will be easy for him to tenderly be led by the nose as asses are. The way the line is cut short here indicates that the time for strategizing is over, as the plan, using the language of reproduction, has been conceived. I have it. It is engendered. Now all it needs is hell and night to bring this monstrous birth to the world's light. If we weren't already convinced of Iago's villainous credentials, his closing words with their reference to hell and night are a sure indication that he is undeniably evil. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos on English language topics and exam techniques and English literature texts.